Our learning target is, today I will learn about Eugenie Clark and code my way through her discoveries. Let's start today by learning about Dr. Eugenie Clark, and we're going to read the book Shark Lady. It was Saturday, and Eugenie wanted to stay at the aquarium forever. She wanted to smell the damp, salty air and stare at the glittery rainbow of fish. She wanted to keep watching her favorite animals, the sharks. Eugenie pretended she was walking on the bottom of the sea. What would it be like to swim with her sharks, to breathe underwater with gills of her own? More than anything, she wanted to find out. When the summer came, Eugenie's mother took her to swim at the beach in Atlantic City. Stuffing sticky gum into her ears to keep the water out, Eugenie dove down, down, down. The salt stung her eyes, but she didn't want to miss a single fish. Constellations of sea stars speckled the pebbled sand. She imagined a silvery fin standing strong on her back, slicing through the ocean current. To others, sharks were ugly and scary, but Eugenie knew they were beautiful. As she glided through the cool water, she wished everyone could see sharks through her eyes. But the sharks were only in her mind for now. Eugenie decided to learn everything she could about them. So she dove. This time into books. Whale sharks, nurse sharks, tiger sharks, lemon sharks. Eugenie wanted to know about them all. She also joined the Queens County Aquarium Society as its youngest member. Eugenie's notebooks filled with sharks. They swam in her daydreams and on margins of her pages. At home, Eugenie's mother surprised her with an aquarium of her own. A 15-gallon tank was much too small for sharks, but Eugenie saved her allowance to buy guppies, clownfish, and coral red snails. It felt as big as an ocean in her room. Their small apartment became an aquarium, a laboratory, and a sanctuary. As she grew older, many were still telling Eugenie what to do. Forget those sharks. Be a secretary. Be a housewife. Eugenie wanted to study zoology, but some of her professors thought women weren't smart enough to be scientists or brave enough to explore the oceans. And they said sharks were mindless monsters. Eugenie knew better. Her dream was as big as a whale shark. So again, Eugenie dove. She plunged into every course she could. Her laboratory became her home. From sunrise to sunset, she studied how fish grow, how they behave, and how they were put together, both inside and out. Despite all of the people who didn't believe in her, Eugenie was becoming one of the smartest students in her field. Even after she earned her degree, many still doubted her. But Eugenie's work was just beginning. Eager to make discoveries of her own, Eugenie finally dove into an open ocean. In the Red Sea, Eugenie collected hundreds of fish, including 3 new species that had not been discovered before: the Red Sea sand diver, the barred xenia pipefish, and the volcano tripplefin. On a research mission exploring the Palau Islands, Eugenie was diving alone when she encountered her first ever wild shark. She wasn't afraid. Instead, she thought it was beautiful. In Isla Mujeres, she dispelled the myth that sharks must keep moving to stay alive when she swam through dark caves, still and silent, full of resting sharks. Eugenie's daring heart grew bolder with each dive. Soon they began to call her Shark Lady. Eugenie had proven she was smart enough to be a scientist and brave enough to explore the oceans. As her courage grew, she began to love and understand her beloved sharks more and more. But she never forgot that many still believed that sharks were mindless killers. Because of their scary reputation, humans were hunting sharks all over the world. Eugenie knew that sharks weren't stupid or mean. She was determined to prove everyone wrong. Eugenie fished through her mind and devised a brilliant experiment. Could she train a shark the way a person trains a dog? Were sharks much smarter than anyone knew? They were. Eugenie was the first scientist in the world to train sharks and even learn they could remember their training for at least 2 months after. Sharks were not mindless killers. Sharks were beautiful. Sharks were smart. They deserved to be studied, protected, and loved. And Eugenie's dream was now a dream come true. Connor and Lexi are here today to help me with this project. Thank you, Connor and Lexi. And the first thing I want you to do is to unclip all of the papers, but hang on to that binder clip. You're going to need it. The first page includes where you're going to write the code. Notice there's all the different arrows. There's up and down and left and right, and then a circle for meaning where you will grab that item. Go ahead and pull off the top sheet because that just gives you a little story about Eugenie Clark in case you wanted to read that on your own. You don't actually need to hang on to that for the purpose of our coding part of the lesson. Next, pull off the coding sheet where you're going to write and make it so that one of the coding sheets is in front of you and the game board, which is the first page after the coding sheet with all the squares, is also in front of you. You're going to need both. And here's a perfect way to set it up. You've got your board or your coding mat and then where you're going to write your code. The next thing you're going to need to do is assemble your game piece. To assemble the game piece, clip the binder clip to the bottom part of Eugenie Clark's little drawing. This will be our marker to move along on the board. Here's my game piece ready to play, and I can use this piece to move Eugenie Clark through my coding mat and know exactly what I need to write on my code to guide her through the whole mat. You'll remember coding from when we did it earlier in the year. Basically, what you're going to need to do is notice all the different items on the coding mat. We want Eugenie Clark to travel on the coding mat and collect all of the items. I've moved her one space forward and I'm going to draw an arrow one space forward. Another space forward means another up arrow. I've just landed on something. I went up one more and now I'm going to collect that item. The shark's reef is collected. Now that one's finished and I can go collect another item. Remember, we're coding here, so we need to write down every step we make. When I go one hop to the right, I write down one arrow to the right. Then I've made it to another space by going down, and I can collect that item. You're going to continue this all the way until you reach the finish where the flippers are that say finish. Make sure that you write down every time you make a move. Let's go back and check on Connor and Lexi. Alright, Connor and Lexi have their game board pieces and they're starting them at the start spot. They're then going to code or give directions for how to move their piece and collect all of the items on the game board. Lexi started with an up arrow, and I'm noticing she's trying to draw it the kind of the block letter way. That's very fancy. You don't have to draw it that way. You can simply draw an arrow up or down, or left or right. Just be sure you mark down every time your diver, your Eugenie Clark, makes a move. Connor's work is full of arrows. He's taken Eugenie Clark all around and gathered all of the things that he needs to gather to complete the game board. Last but not least, go back and check your work. You'll notice that Connor is moving along with his fingers to double check that he has made all of the right coding choices. Well done, Connor and Lexi. Thanks again for your help.